Hey guys, last year we made a few adjustments to this skeleton. We completely detached his jaw, and that introduced a few issues. We put the smoke machine inside of his mouth, but there wasn't enough clearance between the bottom jaw and the nozzle of the smoke machine, which made a weird like consistent viscous material to form on the bottom and just build up, like whatever that smoke machine liquid was just started building up against here. So this year I'd like to finally add a few more electronics to it. We might be fixing the eyes here. There's like 2 red LEDs that I had it blinking. But this year I want to introduce a movable jaw, and I have spent longer than I should on this little wire diagram, but the idea is the simple little switch will change that, and the smoke machine that usually goes in here has a little light bulb on the top. So what I'm thinking is I'm just gonna hook this bit right here up to that bulb, and when it turns on, the jaw will drop down, giving enough clearance to introduce the smoke. And since the jaw is completely secondary to the rest of the skeleton, we're also going to add some hinges on the inside here. So this project will introduce the haunted house that we did last year again. So hopefully we'll get that going. I'll be posting updates throughout social media.
12 seconds later.
So this is the smoke machine that I stick in this guy's jaw. For a better form of understanding, there are 2 lights here. There's a green and a red. Now, I'm gonna do some voltmeter readings. I'm gonna take this apart, which is why this little knob is here. I'm gonna take this apart. There's some voltmeter readings. One of these lights is on when the power is on, and I'm hoping that's gonna be compatible with the electric draw of an Arduino. And what I'm gonna do there is I'm just gonna hotwire the constant power, which I do believe is this red one. I'm gonna hotwire the constant power to the Arduino, and I'm gonna rig up this green light, if the power compatibility is correct, to the servo. That way when it's ready to spit fire, that's a cat. When it's ready to spit fire, it'll immediately let the Arduino know to drop the jaw so that we can smoke. And it'll automatically retract the jaw when it can't smoke anymore.
Day 2.
Alright, current update. So I've fine-tuned the code to the servo, and now we do exactly 180 degrees of rotation. And it's also really smooth now. We made it a little bit faster as well. Now, I have taken apart this smoke machine, and well, first things first, the always on light is in the back here, and this little red thing right here is the sensor, sensor, and then this green light is for when it's ready to shoot. One small problem with that is that this entire system runs off of 120 volts AC, which is not going to work for my 5 volts Arduino. So we're going to do some mashups. In order to get the values off of this without hooking up 120 volts AC, I bought a couple of photosensors. So I'm just going to attach one to the light right here, and then I'm going to wrap it up and make sure that it's like completely shut away from light. That way when that light turns on, the photoresistor gives a value that's positive, which in turn opens the jaw. And as far as power goes, I was just thinking of a phone battery, because that already comes out to 5 volts and it transfers 120V AC. So that's what we're doing now. We're just waiting for the photosensors to come in, and we'll start putting everything together.
12 o'clock midnight.
So this is where I'm at right now. Just finished installing the hinges. You can see I got this at a Goodwill or Savers a while back. We've got a limited opening jaw. Now we just have to hook up the electronics.
A few inches later.
Alright, we're back at it again with the project. We've got everything down to the basics now. Here's our little servo. That's our microcontroller. There's our little light sensor. And it's powered up to a portable power supply right now, but I will be hooking this up to a phone charger. And if we go ahead... Oh, it doesn't want to work sometimes. I think I might have left a few things loose. There we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to hot glue this end to the green light right here. And hopefully that works.
6.5.
Alright guys, after about an hour, this is where we're at. So I gotta fix some of the wires.
3 weeks later.
So we're back at this project again after a week. We're gonna start off by replacing the connector wires over here with something a lot more stable, because it has been a bit of an issue that these loose little servo wires have just been disconnecting, and that kind of messes with the whole point of trying to fine-tune the code. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. We're gonna make them nice and connected, make them snap connection. After that, we're gonna go ahead, we're booting up Arduino to load up a serial monitor so we can read what this photosensor's values are when the light's off and when the light's on. We're also probably gonna find a way to completely shroud this in darkness, because it'll really mess with the readings if the sun's light is kind of like fudging with those numbers. So we're fine-tuning that, and hopefully this project should be done by the end of this. There is an interesting phenomenon that I have come across. You can see that the number is slowly climbing down. Hilariously enough, that is the same value as to how wet the paint I just put on is. So as it slowly dries, that number slowly gets closer to 0. I just saw myself in the reflection. Damn, exposed. And it's fast drying matte paint. Been here maybe 20-ish minutes. Right now I think we're at a point where we're starting to get to that final little bit of dryness. I mean, consistently across the board it does seem like there is a lot of a correlation between how dry that paint is and how close that number gets to 0. Right now we're at 9 congruent and it's already shifting to 8. So I'm just waiting for that to stop being so linear, and then that's when I'll know that it's no longer marking the dryness and that it's actually looking for light sources, which then I'll be able to mark what light sources are congruent with this smoke machine being ready and which ones are just not there. And I'm really hoping that this thing isn't heat sensitive, because that's going to throw everything off, considering this thing becomes hot enough to cook an egg on it. So we're at 6 right now. I'll update you guys in a minute. Alright, it's getting close enough to 0 at this point that I feel confident in putting the open jaw value at 5 and the closed jaw value at 1. We're just going to go ahead and see real quick. I've already got it plugged in. We're waiting for it to heat up. That'll take about 5 minutes. And hopefully we'll see this jaw open, or at least some numbers change when I hear that click.
2,000 years later.
Okay, I just heard the click. We're getting values of 4s and 5s. So I think 3 is our sweet spot value and 0 is our absolute value. So we're gonna go ahead and click that to upload. Yep, and awesome. And if we go ahead and disconnect our humble little power supply here, we are getting readings of absolute 0. I hope that's right. Here, let's go ahead. Yeah, so we're getting readings of absolute 0 here. I'm not getting it to close its mouth at 0 though, so.
And what does that make, ketchup?
Brother, this guy stinks!
Let's put it equal to instead of greater than, or less than. Or actually, if it's a less than value, then we can probably put it at 3 or 1. Yep, it's just closed its mouth. Awesome, and if we go ahead and plug ourselves back in, it should turn the green light back on. Yep. Awesome. Here it is, it's all glory. I'm gonna just go ahead and plug it in. And actually we'll keep that. Oh, it just turned itself off. Cool. So it's got its own little auto function, and as you can see, the value is currently at 0, which means this smoke machine, no matter how many times I press this little remote, it is not going to go off. Also, wait. I thought my camera had the infrared detection, but that's awesome. We're going to go ahead and give it a few seconds. I also want to point out that I've put some red light LEDs in here, which means we can also hook those up to the Arduino, so that way whenever the skull, the mouth comes down, we can have these lights turn on, giving it a nice little red light to go with it. And it would not be hard. I didn't do that for the initial test because I didn't think that this photoresistance project was really going to pan out, but now that I know that I can rely on it, and it's ready. Now that I know I can rely on it, here's the project, and I think we will be adding those red lights. Those red eyes would be great, but another half hour later, and as you can see, our lights turn on when our jaw drops. I want to thank you for watching the video. If you found it helpful and useful and it has achieved something for you, I'd really appreciate if you like and subscribe. I will be making more of these types of videos, especially for Halloween, because I've become the kingpin of Halloween in my neighborhood. In the description I have left a few useful resources, including a Patreon where I will be posting a lot more of the resources that I use in these projects. I'll be including the code in the description. I have an itemized list of everything that I used to make that skull happen. And I just want to remind you guys that this is Halloween, so stay safe and have fun.